Welcome. My name is Dr. Iris Leigh Barnes, and on behalf of the entire committee of the Havre Grace Colored School Foundation, welcome to today's Phenomenal Women program. I'm pretty excited. How about you? Yeah. When I grow up, I want to be like them and become phenomenal. How about you, right? Well, I'm excited and honored, really, to be among this array of phenomenal women. Today's program is packed. You will not be bored. There's always something going on, and you're going to learn about what it is to be phenomenal yourself, like me, still growing up, and how you can become phenomenal. And you're going to learn about some local women in our community who are indeed phenomenal. But we're going to start it off with our keynote speaker, Dr. Kay Wise Whitehead, and I'll tell you a little bit more about her later. But she is indeed, and you will see for yourself, a phenomenal woman. And she will tell us what it's like. Tell us about some other people, how you can become phenomenal yourself. Then we are going to honor 6 women from our community who, against all the odds and in the midst of the Jim Crow years, found ways to be phenomenal and to make a difference locally, regionally, and in some cases nationally. We'll screen a short video of them telling their own story. We wanted to hear from them directly. And then we'll move on to our play, Phenomenal Woman by Amy Brabson. She's back by popular demand. That's right. She's coming back to us because everyone just loved what she did the last time she was here. So if you missed it last time, you're now here, and you'll get to view what she brings to the table. And then after our program, please join us over at the Havre Grace Color School. If you haven't been there before, you get a chance to see what it's like. And we're having a reception and book signing by 2 of our phenomenal women, one of the honorees and our keynote speaker. So sit back, relax, reflect on all the phenomenal women in your life and how you can become one. Enjoy the program. At this time, I'd like to welcome Reverend Janet Long. Is she here? Ah, there she is. Who will bring us the opening prayer. Reverend Long.
Amen. Thank you. Amen. Amen. If all hearts are clear, Father, I come to you right now in the matchless name of your Son, Jesus, as always, to give you all of the glory, all of the honor, and all of the praise. Father, I just pray that your Spirit will manifest himself in this place, Lord, as your people gather here to give honor to whom honor is due, to some phenomenal women who thought it not robbery, Lord, to look inside and discover the gifts that you had deposited in them, to nurture those gifts and then to plant them in your kingdom, giving you a return on your investment in them and bringing you all the glory and the honor. I just pray that your Spirit will have his way in this place, Lord, and that everything that is done here, everything that is said here, and all thoughts, Lord, bring only glory and honor to your holy name. Have your way, Lord. Now these and all things I ask in Jesus' most holy and precious name. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Long. Reverend Long is the founder of JBL Ministries. At this time, Ms. Patricia Cole, the president of the Havre Grace Colored High School, will bring us the occasion. And you'll introduce the speaker? Will bring us the occasion. Please help me welcome Patricia Cole.
you so much for being here today. Today really marks a very special occasion. For those of you who don't know, the Havre Colored High School was the first public high school for African Americans in Harford County, Maryland. Last year, to this day, we as a committee, we were able to acquire the Havre Grace Colored High School. So this is our 1-year anniversary. And it was thanks to people, many of you who contributed and made sure that this dream that we had became a reality. So we are so pleased to bring programs to Harford County that will help to inspire each and every one of you. We are honored to have 6 phenomenal women here today. And each of these women have touched all of us, many of us here in the audience today. I know they've touched me in my lifetime. And so we're so pleased to have them here today. We have some honored guests. The Honorable Colonel Beulah and his lovely wife are here today. And he has supported this foundation, so please give him a round of applause. I believe we have Stacy from Harford Mutual. Is Stacy here? Harford Mutual Insurance, they really were a big contributor to the Colored School Foundation, so we're so pleased that she'll be here if she's not here yet, but she really was a great donor, and she helped to fund our oral history project, so we are really pleased to have her here today. As Charlie Chisholm once said, you don't make progress sitting on the sidelines whimpering and complaining. You make progress by implementing ideas. And so we have these 6 wonderful women, Miss Catherine Burks, Miss Cora Flemings, Minister Janice Grant, Reverend Cynthia Laurie, Miss Christine Talbert, and Miss Mabel Hart, who celebrates her 100th birthday this year. God is good. And we're so pleased that we can have her here today. So I'm not going to delay this program any further, but Dr. K is going to talk about how women inspire us, and we're so pleased to have her here today. So please help us welcome Dr. K. Wise Whitehead.
I want you to know about her first. Dr. K. Wise Whitehead, recently voted at the 2018-2019 Best New Voice in News and Media by Baltimore Magazine, and the recipient of the 2019 Collegium Visionary Award. Dr. Wise Whitehead is an associate professor of communication and African American Studies in the Department of Communication at Loyola University in Maryland, and the host of Today with Dr. K on WEAA, Morgan's Jazz Station. She writes a bi-monthly column, Dispatches from Baltimore, for the Baltimore Afro-American newspaper, and is the author of 4 books, including Race Brave, New and Selected Works, which was selected by the Baltimore Sun as one of the 2015 top 10 summer reads. Notes from a Colored Girl, the Civil War Pocket Diaries of Emily Frances Davis, and so many others, and curriculum guides, and many other publications. But I also want to say that she's a friend of mine. I met her about 6 years ago, and we immediately clicked. When Pat said we needed someone to speak, someone phenomenal, I immediately thought of her. So you will see what we're talking about after you hear her, and you'll be glad that I met her 6 years ago. Please help me welcome Dr. K. Wise Whitehead.
Pretty women wonder where my secret lies. See, I'm not cute or built to a fashion model size, but when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. See, I say it's in the reach of my arms and the span of my hips. the stride of my step and the curl of my lips. I'm a woman. Phenomenally. I'm a phenomenal black woman. Yeah, that's me. So I'm excited to be here. Whenever there's an opportunity to celebrate black intelligence and black genius, whenever there's a moment to celebrate black sisterhood and black solidarity, whenever I can speak about the wisdom of black women, I'm going to be there. And so I'm happy that they invited me, because I woke up this morning with Angela Davis on my mind. Because Angela Davis once said that she's no longer accepting the things that she cannot change. She's only changing the things that she cannot accept. And at this moment in time, there are things happening that I can no longer accept. There are things happening that we have to think about changing. There are things happening that call us to be more than what we are at this moment. It was here in 1910 that a colored school opened for the express purpose of educating and uplifting black people. Just think about that. We live in a country that felt it was necessary to create a law to keep us from reading and writing. That if they wanted to keep us oppressed, the best way they saw fit to do that was to keep us from learning. But black folks survived because they set up schools out in the woods. And they said, doesn't matter if you keep the books from us, we got the Bible in our hearts. And we'll make sure we write down the words in the sand. See, it's something about survival and black folks that go hand in hand. I have to believe that those who came before us, they understood that every mountain for us needs to be climbed. And every ocean has to be crossed. And they understood that we are here today because black folks before us made a decision every day to survive. So I say it's not magic. People like to chalk it up to black magic and black girl magic. I talk about survival instinct, because that's how I see what my ancestors did. They made a choice every day to survive. And if you are a black mother like I am, these are choices that we make every day. Every day we send our children out there, we make a choice to survive. We make a choice to go forward anyway. We make a choice not to stay in bed and cry. We make a choice to hold on to our faith. I always like to start and be very clear. I am a pastor's daughter. And so faith is something that was spoon-fed to me along with my cornbread and macaroni and cheese, right? You know, faith is something that was taught to me. When my parents sent me off to college to Lincoln University, I got $50 a box of tithe and prayers. And my dad said, call me when you run out of each one of those things, and we'll send you some more. I stand here today because Rosa Parks and Claudette Colvin sat down. I stand here because Harriet Tubman and nameless and faceless others chose to run away. I stand here because Mary McLeod Bethune taught, Ida B. Wells wrote, Dorothy I. Hyde wouldn't give up. I stand here because my grandmother prayed and prayed me through. I stand here because moving away from this space is not an option. This space we have at this moment is the space that we have to claim. Today I'm asking you to join me in standing up for freedom. Because we have to remember that the sheroes of our country, that they fought and gave their lives so that we can be free at this moment. I'm asking you to stand up with me for justice. Remembering the groups of people around the world and in this country who don't feel free, but are yet willing to raise their pen and raise their swords and raise their voices in pursuit of something better. I'm asking you to stand up with me for our tongues. I'm remembering the words of my grandmother who said that this system of white supremacy and white nationalism and white denial and white hatred, she said they'll cut out your tongue to deny you the right to speak. She said, so I want to teach you, baby, how to sing with your soul. So even if they take your tongue, you'll still be able to sing about songs of freedom. I want to stand up today because I like to think of myself as a Trojan horse. I was told that when I went to graduate school. There have been black women show up in spaces as Trojan horses. When we get there, single black women jump out, and our grandmothers jump out, and women that can't make the ends meet jump out, and women who don't have a voice jump out of us because we're Trojan horses. We take all of that inside with us. In 1853, it was Unitarian minister and abolitionist Theodore Parker. He said, "I do not pretend to understand the moral universe. The arc is a long one, and my eye but reaches a little ways. I cannot calculate the curves or complete the figure by experience of sight, but from what I understand, the moral universe bends toward justice." Now, it was 112 years later that Dr. King in 1965, that was in that Selma to Montgomery March, that some of you, particularly folks who are celebrating 100 years here, will remember. And they were clamoring and asking Dr. King, they wanted to know how long before the crooked is made straight. And how long, Dr. King, before things will be done better. And how long do we have to cry every night while our children are out focusing and sacrificing for us? How long before this will end? And Dr. King said, not long, because no lie can live forever. And not long, because truth crushed to earth will rise again. Not long, because the universe is on the side of justice. And I cannot calculate the sight, but I know that the arc is a long one and it bends toward justice. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel that justice has taken a long time to get here. And that part of the work that we have to do is we have to speed up justice to get it here before some of us have to run on ahead to see how the end is going to be. It's 2019 and it's been 400 years of surviving what it means to be black in this country. We have dealt with 400 years of degradation and 400 years of humiliation. We've dealt with 400 years of oppression and 400 years of hostility. We've dealt with 400 years of being tested on our skills, being medically examined. We've dealt with 400 years of being misunderstood. But yet, even though they tried to break us, they could not. Because we also had 400 years of faith, and 400 years of joy, and 400 years of happiness, and 400 years of family, and 400 years of being able to survive what it means being black in this country. Getting up every day in this country is an act of courage. It takes a lot of courage to walk out here in this system. It takes a lot of courage to stand up day after day. It takes a lot of courage to recognize that we're standing on holy ground. Because Frederick Douglass said that the blood of our soul is mixed with the soil of this land. He said we built this country. And if they want to know what it means to be an American, you ask somebody who's black what it means to be an American. Langston Hughes said, I say it plain, America never was America to me, but yet I swear this oath, America will be. Because we built this country. And these are not anecdotal stories that we tell children around the campfire. We do the history, we do the hard work, and we know from the White House to the outhouse, our blood is mixed there. We understand what that means. Black women know what it means to stand on hallowed ground. My oldest son turned 18 this year. And black women in the audience who are mothers, I ask you to lean in this moment with me because you'll get what I'm talking about. There was a moment at about 12:01 a.m. when I went running into his room. And it wasn't to check that he was there. It was just to remind myself that he was crossing a threshold between what it means to be a black child in America and what it means to be a black man. I stood at his doorway and I cried because I recognized I could no longer hide him behind me like I've been doing for 18 years. That every time something happened, I said, wait a minute, he's my child. You talk to his parent. I'm here. and I'm present. He's 18 years old. And every black mother who has that moment can understand what I'm talking about. What it means to sit up all night when they go out with their friends. What it means to pace the floor when you're waiting for that text or that phone call. What it means to hear he's having issues and you can't jump in and save him. What it means to look at him and to realize and recognize I've been pouring everything I have into you for 18 years, and you can be in the right place at the wrong time and it can end for me at that moment. It was a hard moment for me, but I decided to throw my back to the wind, to stand up one more time and say it's okay because I believe in something bigger than myself. I believe that just like black women before us, the ones we're celebrating today, they planted a seed in the ground. They didn't know what was going to happen. But they understood that some have to plant, and some have to water, some have to till the land, and some will be there when things come to fruition. Black women, we've been dealing with what it means to be talented and educated for a long time. There are 3 black women who have given the distinction of getting their PhDs first in this country. In 1921, Georgiana Simpson got her PhD from the University of Chicago in German philosophy. Sadie Moselle Alexander got her PhD from the University of Pennsylvania in economics. And Eva Dykes got her PhD from Radcliffe College in English philosophy. W.B. Du Bois talked about the talented 10th. He was talking about educated race men. But black women said, well, wait a minute. How do you talk about educated race men and not include the women? Because as my grandmother says, I don't have to go to school to be able to understand the history of this country. She said, when you go off to school, you go off for all of us. And when you get educated, we get educated. You push that education on back to us as well. Right now in this country, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, there are about 3.2 million black folks in this country who have a bachelor's degree. 3.2 million. There are an additional 1 million black people who have both a 4-year college degree and a master's degree. I want you to hear this, folks. There's only 150,000 black people in this country right now who have a degree in law, business, or medicine. There are only another 136,000 black people in America who have a PhD or EDD. Think about those numbers. We're 13.1% of the population, and we don't even have 150,000 black people with degrees beyond a BA or a master's. Education is something we've been pushing for. Education is something that's been denied to us, and yet we keep pushing forward. I want to suggest to you in my little time I have left that I think as black women that there are 3 tools that we have in our backpack. 3 tools that we pull out when it's time to fight. My grandmother said that as a black woman, you always need to be prepared to fight. Now, when I was younger, I thought that meant throwing up hands. So whenever my grandmother got the call about me at school, it's because I was fighting. I'm like, Grandma, you said I need to be prepared to fight. She said, no, there's another way that we fight, baby. It's a way that keeps us alive. It's a way that keeps us going till the next day. She said, you got to learn how to fight with the one thing they can't take from you. She said, there's something right here. They can never take that from you. She says, you pack that up and you put that in your backpack because you're going to need that tool as you go forward. So I want to add 3 tools to my grandmother's tool. The first tool I want to add is that we need to have the ability to hold on until the end. Now, it's interesting, and some of you will remember the 1992 Olympics. I talk about this a lot because that moment really stuck with me. But in 1992, you had Derek Redmond. He was running, he was a track star. He was the one who was predicted to win. All eyes were on him at the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona. Derek Redmond got one lap around the track, and he pulled up a hamstring, and he began to limp. We remember the picture now. Now everyone's running on ahead of him, and he continues to limp, and they're calling him, Derek, come over, you're holding things up, get out of the way, so the race can continue. But he kept going. Now there was a man who came bursting through the crowd, who ran up to Derek, grabbed his arm, and put it around him. And then he put his arm around Derek, and together they limped and hobbled their way to the finish line. Now the cameras came running up to Derek for just holding up what was going on with the race. Why did you come here? What's going on here? Why did you hold up the race? He said, I came to Barcelona to finish a race, not to start one. He said, I did not even know I was going to finish until my daddy came out and he carried me. Folks, we're here today because somebody has carried us. Somebody's pushed us, someone's cajoled us, someone's prayed for us, someone's dragged us to where we are at this moment. We're here because we have been carried. And I ask you, who are you carrying at this moment? And we can carry folks while standing up tall. Dr. King said no man can ride your back when you're standing up tall. We can carry folks even while we're standing up tall. So that first tool we need to have is the ability to finish this race. We understand we've been running this race since 1619. 400 years of black folks in this country. And we didn't start off as enslaved people. We have to let young folks know we came into this country as indentured servants right down in Jamestown. And two of the people on that ship went on to own a huge plantation in Annapolis. They said we might have come here as indentured servants. We're moving through here as free people. So we have to understand that we don't start in with slavery and someone looking to own us. We start and end as free people in charge of our own destiny, in charge of our own legacy, in charge of our own bodies, and in charge of our own spirit. They started running that race, and we're just a part of that. We keep it going. Now, when my daddy would have his meetings with his deacons, I used to hide in the back because I know whenever he gets the deacons together, he's going to yell at them, right? Yeah, I used to love hearing my daddy yell at the deacons. But he used this example. He said, I don't understand. Some of you don't know how to fly. And so the deacons are sitting there. And this is a black church in D.C., Shiloh Baptist Church. I'm like, we don't know how to fly. He said, see, here's the thing. Birds know how to get in formation. There's one up front. The rest of you are supposed to fall in line. He says, you don't move up till I move back. When I move back, then you come up. He said, but I'm not moving back. You got to get in formation and understand what your place is at this moment. What I've recognized with that is that I got to learn how to get in formation. I got to understand my place at this moment. I got to understand that I'm sandwiched between my daddy's generation and my son's generation, sandwiched between the civil rights movement and Black Lives Matter. And that my job is to get in formation and help move the baton a little bit farther down the path. I mean, Dr. King said I may not get there with you. Folks, as I start to mature a little in age, I'm starting to recognize I probably won't get there with them either. But my job, in terms of getting in line and falling in formation, is making sure that when freedom shows up for our people, there's somebody there to meet them on the other side. And so we do what we can now to build up the next generation so that somebody will be there. When freedom finally shows up, that our people are there to meet it on the other side, because we've been waiting for it for a long time. That second tool that I think you need to have in your toolbox is having the ability to have the strength of your character and your conviction. The first time I was called the N-word, I was 7 years old. And I was down in Columbia, South Carolina with my Nana. And I had a friend who used to play with me. And he was a person not of color, the PNOC. And he came running out one day. He goes, my daddy's really upset. Those Yankee N-words are coming to get us. Now, I'm growing up in D.C. I was like, well, the Yankee N-words, how can I help fight help you because I'm scared too. That the Yankee N-words, and we were saying the words at 7, are coming to get us. I was scared. I went running home and I got in my Nana's closet because I'm thinking if the Yankee N-words show up, they can't get inside the house and inside the closet. And so my Nana's yelling through the house, where are you? I said, I'm in the closet. I'm hiding from the Yankee N-words. Come on in here with me. So she opened the door. Had a lot of questions for me that day. Trying to figure out, how did I hear that word? And who taught me that? And do you understand they were talking about you? She pulled me in front of the mirror and she made me say that word over and over again. Tears are coming down my eyes and didn't understand why. And I kept saying it and saying it and saying it. And she would ask me each time, how do you feel now? It hurts, it hurts. And I was like, it doesn't hurt. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it, Nana. I'm tired of it, Nana. She said, that's what I want. She said, because if you give them the ability to bring you down with one word, you'll never go forward. She said, you got to recognize that that word has power because we give it power. She said, you did not create the N-word, they did. And you don't have to fit into that mold to make them feel better. This is Jim Crow, South Carolina, that my grandmother grew up in. So she said, I was called the N-word as much as I was called my name. She said, but it took me a minute before I stopped answering to the N-word. And I only answer to Dorothy. And you need to put Miss before that if you want to talk to me. She said, and I had to reteach the white folks I knew. I'm not going to answer the N-word, nor Dorothy, nor Dot. If you want to talk to me after 1954, you're going to call me Miss Dorothy or Miss Bamberg. And she did it over and over again, and that is what she taught me. She said, you have to know who you are from the inside out. You got to know the strength of your character. You have to have integrity and stand up tall. Maya Angelou said that when people show you who they are, you gotta believe it the first time. Now I'm gonna say that lesson with Maya Angelou served me well when I started dating, right? My nana said, you know what, if he's already acting up on day 1, I can assure you on day 27 it's not gonna change. It's not gonna change. When people show you who they are, you've got to believe them. So the question I ask you, do you know who you are? The phenomenal black women that we're honoring today stepped into that space, prepared and ready to take over. We call that a quiet revolution. I don't have to yell and scream, I just got to outdo you. I got to get higher grades. I got to work a little bit harder. I got to recognize that because I'm in the door, my job is to put my shoe in the door so somebody else can get through as well. We drag a whole bunch of people in the room when we come, so we can get beyond the first of anything when we're talking about black people anymore. There's a bunch of us who show up, not just the Trojan horses, but because we open the door as well. So that second tool is you need to have the strength of your convictions, the character and the integrity. You have to know how to, as Michelle Obama said, go high when they go low. Because I recognize and I've seen that they go low a lot. There's a lot of going low right now. Every step of the way, there's a lot of going low. I've taken the Michelle Obama quote and I've tweaked it a little bit. I go high when they go low, except when I need to go low, right? Because sometimes, and I say that, and I know that's not a popular position, but you know what? I have African-American sons in this system. Sometimes I gotta go low. Sometimes I got to show up and show out. My sons hate when you gotta call mommy. The teacher goes, I'm getting ready to call your mother. My son goes, you might not want to do that. My mother doesn't take too kindly to having to be called off her job because you're saying you can't get me quiet. He said, I know, now this is my older son. I know to be quiet, but you need to let me finish what I have to say. I'm like, you know what, buddy? Don't worry. See, it's a part of being a parent and what we know as black women, that there are times when I have to stand in front of you to protect you from the world. And then there are times when I turn around and I'm facing you, because if anyone's going to get you right, it's going to be me. I tell them all the time that my sheep know my voice. I said, like my daddy used to say, there'll be 1,000 voices clamoring for your attention. When I call your name, you need to hear me. And I'm not going to yell. He said, because my sheep know my voice. When we send that next generation out there, do they know their own voices? Do they know how to listen to truth? Can they trust themselves? Do they understand their limitations and then how to bend them to get what they want? So first, we need to be committed to finishing the race. Second, we need to have the courage and the courage that we need to go forward. And third, we have to believe in something bigger than ourselves. My daddy used to say that faith is knowing that when you come to the end of all that you know, and you're prepared to step off in the darkness. Faith is knowing that God will give you something strong to stand on, or he will teach you how to fly. It's a faith journey. Now, you may believe in something else. That's fine. I tell my sons all the time, but you got to believe there's something bigger than you. When I was younger and I was coming through high school, I was pretty arrogant. I'm sure you probably can see that a little bit. But I used to believe that the world revolved around me and folks were just too stupid to figure it out, right? I just used to believe that. I said, it's all about me. This is before Facebook, before Instagram, before I could make my own world. I just believed it was all about me. And I learned the hard way when I got to my HBCU. That the world does not revolve around me, but I don't have to be the sun in order to shine. I don't have to be in the center in order to get the work done. That for Dr. King to be Dr. King, there was an Ida B. Wells. There was a Diane Nash. There was an Ella Baker. For us to lift up Wyatt T. Walker, we got to think about Vashti Turley Murphy McKenzie as well. For us to think about the young black boys on the front line, we can think about the young black girls standing beside them. For us to think about Tamir Rice and have our hearts broken, we also got to think about Aiyana Jones and Rakia Boyd. And what does it mean to say her name? And the fact that we have to have a campaign to remind people to say the names of black women and black girls. We have to believe that there's something bigger than ourselves, that we're pushing this baton down the road. We stand here today, and I know that in so many ways we have been disenfranchised, and we've been disempowered, and we've been overlooked, and we've been ignored. We have been underpaid, and we've been underrepresented. Black women are still only making 63 cents on a dollar in 2019. But yet, black women, who Zora Neale Hurston once called the mule of this society, black women know how to hold it up. We know how to throw our shoulders back. We know how to work through our tears. We know how to educate our children even when the schools won't. We know the difference between right or wrong when it comes in front of our face. We know what it means to be dressed up in our Sunday morning blues and to be ready to go low if we have to. We understand the power of our voice and the strength of our conviction. We understand that they did not break us because they cannot. That we stand here today because we know how to go forward. We know how to run if we can, crawl if we have to. We know how to kick if we need to, bite if we can't do anything else. We know how to scream out if that's what it takes. We know how to take $1 and stretch it and pay for tuition. We know what it means to send our kids off to college. When my dad rode away when he left me at college, he told me, he said, don't come out and see me off. He said, black folks are always dealing with leaving. We're not going to leave you. We're just going to move from this place. He said, I'm going to give you this box here. He said, and when I leave, I want you to open this box because there's something inside that'll help you through the next 4 years. And I was excited, folks. I was like, okay, well, y'all need to leave because I got out a box, and it was a huge big box that he set on my bed. I said, I wonder what my daddy's giving me that's going to help me through the next 4 years of college. So they drove off. I waited. He said, you got to wait at least 15 minutes and then open that box. Now, understand, it's the day before cell phones. I couldn't call him. I just had to watch that clock. I said, all right, 4:15. And I opened the box. And inside this big, huge box, beautifully decorated, there was another box. And so I thought he was playing one of those Christmas games, right? Where you just keep kind of undoing the boxes. And I kept unpacking box after box. And at the end was a small little, almost like an alabaster box. And I was like, what's inside? I'm thinking money, jewelry, maybe my grandmother's pearls. I'm like, I don't know what's in the box. And I opened it up and it was empty. And so I took a look at the clock. I said, okay, they'll be home by 6 p.m. and I got to call Colette because I don't have a cell phone or a calling card. And so 6 p.m. exactly, I ring. Colette called. My dad's like, I knew you were going to call. I said, Daddy. He said, what was in the box? I said, nothing was in the box, Daddy. He said, no, actually, all of our prayers and all of our dreams and all of our tears are inside that box. He said, when your grandmother was denied school, that's in that box. He said, when my mother couldn't vote and she was beaten, that's in that box. He said, when we were enslaved and we didn't think we were going to make it, that's in that box. Everything we have to give you. He said, silver and gold have I not, but all I have I've put in that box for you. He said, so when they teach you that you don't belong, when they try to break you and tell you that you're not going to make it, when they begin to doubt you, you open up that box and all those dreams and all those tears, all those hopes and all those prayers will come falling out on you. And you'll be able to make it. Folks, I believe that there's a place that exists beyond where we are at this moment. A place of our dreams and our hopes and our prayers. A place that we're going to get there. And so I ask you that as you lean with me into that place, that you grab the hand of the person on your right. And then you grab the hand on the person on your left, because we will get there. But we have to get there together. Thank you so much.
What'd I tell you? What did I tell you? Now you know I want to be like her when I grow up. Thank you again, Dr. K. I am so glad I met you 6 years ago. At this time, we're going to look at some of our local women. They're going to remind you of some of the women Dr. K talked about. All their achievements, how they stood up to change and made change. You're going to hear directly from them on our video that we're going to show. What inspired them, who inspired them, and also the role of the Havre Grace Colored School in inspiring them to become who they are today and to achieve all that they have achieved. At this moment, we're going to show our tribute to our honorees.
My name is Catherine Dolores Williams Burks. May 3rd, 1930.
Cora Watson Fleming, 10/16/32.
I'm Reverend Cynthia Patricia Laurie. I was born right here in Havre in Havre Memorial Hospital on July 3rd, 1945.
Christine Evelyn Presbury Tolbert. My date of birth is July 3rd, 1935.
Janice East Moorhead Grant. I was born on July the 30th, 1933.
My name is Mabel Elizabeth Hart.
I was born 3/27/19.
My parents were farmers. I was raised on a farm where we had chickens, geese. One of the main things that they stressed for us was getting an education, because at the time there was no education for black people no further than elementary school.
One thing about Havre Grace College School was the camaraderie, the getting together. And of course, I was real excited because, we had a high school now. I could go to high school, actually. And there was a kind of a family setting, that we just kind of gelled together.
Oh, Miss Viola Whittington?
Yes.
She was one of my favorite persons of all the world. Next to my mother, I think she was just another mother. When I was very small, we had no kindergartens at those times. My two brothers went to school. My mother asked Miss Hopewell if I could come to school. And she said she can come if she's quiet. She put a big coat on the floor, and I sat behind the stove where I could keep warm.
If someone is teaching you that has no idea about where you come from and why you're like you are, or what worries you, or what problems you might have, if they can't identify with you on that level, then you have a tendency to withdraw. And if you withdraw, then you're not going to be able to take in and learn.
Havre Grace College School taught me to excel in whatever I chose to do. I learned probably more from this school than I could possibly have learned anywhere else. Well, biology, I loved biology. I loved the choir. I loved track. And I loved the teaching. I thought I had excellent teachers.
Still, when I see Miss Hart or Miss Tolbert or whoever, it's like there's a bond that just continues to exist.
I don't know my classroom, but love.
Remember Mr. Roy vividly.
You think of him as being a grouchy person, but he really wasn't. And by the time with my experiences going through school, I realized later that he was a friend, and I didn't know that.
Seventh grade girls thought it was so great to make our teacher, Mr. Roy, a necktie to wear. And now that I'm grown, I realize he must have had a hard time wearing that bad bucket necktie.
But the other thing about Mr. Roy that I remember is that he and Langston Hughes were roommates in college. And if we saw Langston Hughes once and heard from him, we heard from him numerous times. So we got to feel as if we really knew Langston Hughes from the beginning.
He was so gentle, so kind, Mr. Langston Hughes. It was later that we learned how important a man he really was.
There were about 4 or 5 of us that for math, we didn't have math with our class.
We were not supposed to have algebra because colored children shouldn't learn algebra. Only principal that was at Havre Grace Colored School, he decided to teach my class, I remember, algebra. The superintendent of schools, who was white, came and told him he had to stop teaching us algebra because there were not enough children in the class. However, Mr. Roy decided that he would teach us anyway because the superintendent was not there every day.
They did their very, very best in not so good circumstances. We didn't have books. We had to copy. And I had that black and white composition book. The teacher had the book, and he would read it to the students, and we would write it, and then we'd use that as a book. But then later we did get hand-me-down books, no backs on them, writing all over, but we learned in spite of all that because our teachers were excellent.
It was second-handed, it was dirty, but he always apologized. I guess he felt bad because we had to use those books, but he would say, "Have you read it?" You'd say, "No." He said, "Then read it, it's new. Anything you haven't touched before is new."
Well, no, we didn't have new books. We had books that came from, of course, the schools were segregated at that time, so we had books that came from the white schools.
Brown versus Board of Education was decided. We were all excited. We thought that integration would take place right away. However, as you probably know, it didn't take place right away. And we went through numerous hurdles.
When the schools were desegregated, Dr. Charles W. Willis, who was the superintendent of schools, ordered Mr. Leon S. Roy, our principal here, to burn the books. He didn't want the books of colored people, as we were called, to go into a white school. So they were pushed down in the basement in the furnace, and I grabbed as many as I could. One book that was a favorite of mine was called Black Cargoes, and that book helped you to understand what tribe you came from in Africa.
His wife called me over and she says, "Buddy is down and he wanted you to come." So I went over to their apartment, and then he was there laying there, and he says, "Look in the closet, bring me the briefcase." And so I went to the closet and brought it out, and then he gave it to me, and he says, "You're getting ready to start your career." He says, "I had this briefcase when I started, and now I'm passing the baton to you. You can do it." And that meant so much to me after all the experiences and the misunderstandings of who he was. And I realized that he was really concerned with us as people.
I'd like for them to know how dedicated our teachers were, how well they taught us in spite of the handicaps.
Now, at this time in my life, it gives me great pleasure to know that so many children I have taught come back to me at church. They come and say, "Miss Hart, do you need anything?" And I think that's great. And when they have something like a dinner or something at church, they see what I get.
I've been a Havre City Council person. I was a Harford County chairman and member then chairman of the Harford County Liquor Control Board, which was appointed by the governor. I was on the Human Relations Commission for a number of years. I was one of the founders of Xi Delta Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority.
I'm most proud of my salvation, more than anything, being born again. But I did enjoy living in Africa, learning the history of Africa, how rich it is, and how wrong it has been taught.
I was able to get a job at Aberdeen Proving Ground as a mathematician. I worked there for 18 years.
What would you like to say to inspire the youth of today?
You are a good person, and you are a smart person, and if it seems that nobody is noticing, that there is somebody who does notice, and that's the person who made you. And therefore, if you are loved
love God. There's someone who loves you. And therefore, if you're not receiving love immediately somewhere else, always know that you are loved, and you are good, and you are smart.
You can do anything if you want to, if you really try. It doesn't make any difference what limitations you may have had at the beginning, and even through life, you still can do well.
Sometimes you'll be surprised at what the young man in the corner or the young girl behind him have the talent to do.
At this time, we're going to ask our honorees to make their way up to the stage. They'll probably come around that way. I want to remind you that if you want to get an opportunity to fellowship with Dr. K, she will be signing books over at the Colored School after this program at the reception. But as our honorees are working their way up, we want to recognize and honor one of our own who we lost about a week or so ago, Ms. Gladys Irene Williams. You can see on page 10, I'm just going to read along a little bit in memoriam to Ms. Gladys Williams. She was born in July 24th, 1919, just months away from that 100-year young mark. Mrs. Williams was a lifelong and faithful member of Union United Methodist Church. She accepted Christ at an early age. Mrs. Williams served as president of United Methodist Women for a number of years, chairperson of program resources, church school teacher, and director of Vacation Bible School. She was the district chairperson of the nominating committee of the United Methodist Women. She was a member of the Evening Star chapter, Order of the Evening Star since 1960, serves as matron for 3 terms, grand lecturer for the state of Maryland, district deputy for district number 7, grand trustee in the West, vice president and president of the Havre chapter of the Association of Retired Persons. Gladys co-organized Harford County's first Black Girl Scout troop and was its leader for 10 years. She was a member of the Interracial and Interdenominational Dialogue of Harford County, co-tester in opening restaurants, equal housing, and interracial and interdenominational Bible school, a 50-year member of the local and state Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. In 1965, she was a U.S. alternate delegate to The Hague on the celebration of its 50th anniversary. She was a member of several civic organizations, Food and Nutrition Committee, Les Charmantes, AARP, Bowie Alumni, and the Freya Club. Mrs. Williams leaves to cherish life and precious memories, her loving and devoted sisters, Mary and Eva of Aberdeen, Mildred Batt of Sykesville, Catherine Burks of Havre Grace, and one brother, Irving Williams of Rockville, a host of nieces, nephews, cousins, godchildren, and friends. She was preceded in death by her sister Ruth and brothers Percy, Russell, and Otto Williams. Mrs. Williams leaves a legacy and an inheritance of unshakable faith, love, generosity, scholarship, and wisdom. Cousin Gladys, we miss you. Our first honoree is Catherine Williams Burks. She was not able to make it today, but a family member is here to represent her. Right. Catherine Williams Burks was born in Havre de Grace as one of 12 children to farmers Hattie and Vandelia Williams. From an early age, her parents instilled in her the importance of education, and her father was instrumental in getting Harford County to establish the Havre de Grace Color School. Ms. Burks attended Havre de Grace Color School from 1942 to 1946. As a high school student, her father enlisted her help in counting the profits from his farming business. But she also attended Bowie State College. She received her Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics. After graduating from college, she taught math at Lincoln High School in Frederick, Maryland. She is the founder of the Les Chamants. She is an active life member of the Morgan State Alumni Association, and she is also proud of her role as the chairperson of the James H. Burks Memorial Scholarship. Please give Catherine a round of applause for all her work. Our next honoree is Ms. Cora Fleming. Ms. Fleming was born on October 16, 1932 in Aberdeen to Margaret and Otha Lisby. At the age of 16, Ms. Fleming, along with her brothers, George and Otha Jr., graduated from Havre de Grace Colored School. Later that year, she entered Bowie State University as an education major. After graduating from Bowie, Ms. Fleming returned to Harford County to begin her teaching career at her alma mater, the Havre de Grace Colored School. Ms. Fleming continued serving as an elementary teacher during her 12 years there. She taught grades 1 through 4. In 1965, after the Harford County schools became integrated, Ms. Fleming went on to teach an integrated class at Meadowvale Elementary in Havre de Grace. In 1988, Ms. Fleming retired from Meadowvale and the Harford County Public School System after 34 years of dedicated service. We're just going to move through all the honorees, and then we have some gifts and presentations for them. Miss Janice Moorhead Grant. Dr. Janice Moorhead Grant was born July 30th, 1933 in Aberdeen to Marguerite and North Love Moorhead. She attended Havre de Grace Color School from grades 8 through 12. Havre de Grace Color School offered her a special learning environment, which influenced her decision to pursue a career in teaching. Ms. Grant taught at many places after getting her degree at Bowie State College, Teachers College, Havre de Grace Consolidated, Halls Crossroads, and various other places. But in addition to her scholastic and professional achievements, Minister Grant dedicated her life to activism and has participated in a number of civil rights initiatives, including the Freedom Schools of the 1960s, Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, sponsored voter registration drives, and countless sit-ins and demonstrations and marches. More briefly. All right, more briefly. Reverend Cynthia Patricia Laurie is our next honoree, was born July 3rd, 1945 in Havre de Grace. She is one of 6 children to Nina and John Laurie. She attended Morgan State University and earned her Bachelor of Science degree in mathematics in 1967 and became a mathematics teacher at Elkton Middle School in Cecil County. She taught for 41 years in Cecil and Harford County Public Schools. Miss Christine Talbert, our next honoree, was born on July 3rd, 1935 in Darlington, Maryland, to Genevieve and Wilson Pressberry. Ms. Talbert attended the Hosanna School, the Havre Grace Colored School from 1947 to 51, then moved to Central Consolidated High School. Ms. Talbert taught at Havre Grace Consolidated School from 1958 to 64. She retired from Harford County Public Schools after many years of service in 1987, and 2002 was inducted into the Harford County Education's Hall of Fame. And lastly, but certainly not least, Ms. Mabel Hall Hart. In about a week and a half from now, she will be 100 years young. Not only is she a product Not only is she a product of Harford County Public Schools, but she was a teacher for many years. She enrolled at the Maryland's Teacher College at Bowie, now Bowie State University, and taught grades 1 through 3. In 1939, she graduated from college and began her career as a dedicated teacher. She earned her bachelor's degree from Morgan in 1965, and also attended the University of Delaware. But Mrs. Hart has served others selflessly through the years. She taught adults to read and write at no charge, volunteered at the Perry Point Veterans Hospital, and at the call of the President of the United States at the time, served an entire summer teaching migrant workers in the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia. We're going to give our honorees an opportunity to say a few words. We're going to start with Ms. Catherine, well, you said Ms. Burks. Who'd you say?
Ms. Burks. Ms. Flemings.
Okay. We're going to start with Ms. Flemings.
I know time is important in all our lives, so I will be very brief. Can you hear me? Thanks to the Havre Grace Colored High School Committee for this honor. As a product of the Havre Grace Colored High School, you learned at an early age that if a door was closed, you found a window that was open. Although your window may not have been as large as another's door, nothing could and nothing did prevent you from becoming successful. No one is ever too young or too old to gain knowledge. Reading quotes has been one of many enjoyable learning and relaxing experiences for me. Allow me to share this quote with you. Knowledge is like a garden. It has to be cultivated before it can be harvested. Like the farmer, in 34 years of teaching, I have done a lot of cultivating, and I have been fortunate enough to see the bountiful harvest of my cultivation. Thanks to my family, former students, fellow educators, and all who have been a part of my garden. All of us can be thankful for our many blessings.
Reverend Laurie.
I guess, can you hear me? Yes. Okay. I don't have anything written, but I just want to first thank the Colored School Foundation for giving us the opportunity to come and be honored today. And that reminds me of Mr. Roy back in the day. And Mr. Roy was the kind of person, and when you're the student going through, you don't really know what he's doing until you get to the end. I was a very shy person, scared of everything and everybody. And when I went to Morgan, my science class, I had an unknown chemical, and you had to do different experiments and let him know what you had. And he told us that somebody, if you have something and you can't, it doesn't meet all the information and qualifications for the kind of chemical, then you still turn it in as being impure. So I started working during the day and working the nights, coming back on weekends. This chemical just wouldn't work. And I was determined that I must find what it is. And then finally, Dr. Sproul, was it? Anyway, he said, when are you going to give me your information when you finish? I said, I've tried everything, and it doesn't match up to be anything. And he says, so you shouldn't you have come and turned it in and said that it's an impure compound? I said, yes, sir. And then the thing he said after that was, Roy said that you were doubting Thomas, and I would have to work with you. And right then, I didn't associate Havre Grace and Mr. Roy with the professors down at Morgan. And I thought, they're not finished with you at the consolidated school when you leave. Everywhere you go, the word is there, and what you need and the help that you need, what to look out for. So we were blessed. Anybody who went to the consolidated school and the Havre Grace Colored School, the teachers cared about us. And then when we found out later, sometimes, we didn't think people cared, but they did. And I wouldn't have had it any other way. I wouldn't have wanted to go to any other high school. I wanted to be right where I was with people who cared about me. Miss Hart from second grade, and all the way, all the rest. So I'm just so happy that we're finding time to find out what people have done in our lives. And I, for one, I'm saying thank you. Oh, and Miss Fleming. I started with Miss Phillips at the colored school, and we went to the new building, and that's when I got Miss Fleming. And many of us, that happened to us. So I just want to say, I should have wrote something. So I just want to thank all of you and thank my family who have come today to share this time with me. Amen.
Now we'll hear from Minister Janice Moorhead Grant.
I'd like first to give honor to God and be thankful for all He has done for me in spite of myself. And He's still working on me. But I also want to thank this group, and particularly Colonel Pat Cole Barfield, who came along and did this. Her mother is a good friend of mine, and her dad, so I kind of knew her before she was born, so to speak, and did visit with her family in California when I was going to school. But I'm standing on people's shoulders right now, and I can't take credit for anything, because all those people, the nameless people, that we will probably never know until we get to glory, the servants. And I wanted to say, people talk about slaves. Well, slaves didn't come from Africa. People did. And they were forced into slavery. But of course, they also owned some Caucasians, by the way. And I had a love for learning because of my mother. My mother was educated in Philadelphia, and my grandmother, who was blind, but before that, she and her mother, my great-grandmother, owned a restaurant in Philly on South Street. And when we would go up, we could look in the telephone book and see Marian Anderson's telephone number, and she would let you come and visit her. And also Paul Robeson, his name was there. But I have learned there isn't enough time to really learn everything that you need to know. But I thank God for my teachers. I taught with, my cousin over here is going to be 100 years old. Of course, God said he'll let you live until you're satisfied. Bishop Roger Tatum says that all the time. By the way, he was my 3rd grade student. He's now my pastor. But I have been blessed by so many people, I couldn't possibly name them. But again, as Cynthia said, I would not trade what I had to go through for anything. And I remember my class was, my brother's in this class, like Pat's brother, Pat's dad. But we were the first class in the colored school to go to the 12th grade. This class stopped at the 11th grade. And when we were told we were going to the 12th grade and not any new classes, we had to repeat all the 11th grade classes. We did have public speaking. So we went on strike. We went out and sat in the bleachers until we were told we would get new classes. Dr. Clayton Stansbury was in that class as well. Mr. Roy came out and commanded us to come in, and we didn't move. But he did lower our grades. But we went on and did learn, and at Bowie, I thank God for Bowie also, which was basically paid for by the money from people who had been in bondage. They'd bring chickens and eggs and things like that for us. We only had 3 buildings at that time, and the gymnasium was a barn. But we learned because of the teachers who cared for us and knew what we had to go through because they knew what they had gone through. And as I said, I'm standing on their shoulders, and I thank God that I can still do some things. I did want to mention Mrs. Juanita Jackson Mitchell. Some of you probably know her. The first woman of color to graduate from University of Maryland. She had 2 children at that time. And she, all the cases for Harford County, she was the attorney for them. And of course, she used to call, my husband and I did civil rights together, and she called us the team. But when I was hassled, she came up with her husband. There's a poet named for him now in Baltimore, Clarence M. Mitchell Jr. Some of you may know about that. And when she came into the Board of Education, she said, "I bought my gun." And that was her husband. And so, of course, she won. And when they could no longer attack me, they attacked my children. And so Dr. Willis had said in the court, and it's written by the attorney for the Board of Education, no matter how much education a colored teacher gets, including a PhD, she is still not equal to a white teacher who hasn't even been to college. But we proved that to be very different.
Thank you, Ms. Grant. Thank you. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but we now have Ms. Christine Pressberry Tolbert. Thank you.
I'll try to be very, very short. But I have to include in mine a big thank you for the young people who put this together. The moment is incredible. It's just been wonderful and some of the people on that panel, I taught. And so they knew they had to do the right thing. But I'm grateful and honored to be chosen as a phenomenal woman among this distinguished group. Phenomenal woman. I never thought of myself in that way. Especially, I was this quiet, scared little girl who attended the Hosanna School in Darlington, which of course was the first school of any angst in Harford County for African Americans, which is now a historical site. It is unbelievable, but I really must have changed significantly. I cannot thank God enough for making my existence fruitful and to place you and me in the presence of this young group who put this together. They are phenomenal.
Amen.
And a big thank you to them as they planned and executed such an elegant event. It confirms our wishes that the future of our community is being passed on to a confident group of people who are able to contribute to a bright and successful community. I can't stop without telling you, because I see numerous students that I have been involved with in the audience, and they forgot to tell you that in addition to Havre Grace Consolidated School, I was a guidance counselor at Aberdeen High School. And then I became supervisor of elementary schools in Harford County. So the road was just as rough as these ladies have described, and I'm not going to be going over all of that because I know time is of an essence. But I want to thank you, the audience, for coming to support this event. They've worked hard, they've done a beautiful job, and we are here to thank them. Yeah. Now, I know you are inspired by this group, as I am. And they have done phenomenal things. So they are the phenomenal committee.
Thank you so much. And last, as Iris said, but not least, Miss Mabel Hall Hart.
These ladies have said it all. So all I have to say is I thank you for coming and sharing this afternoon with all of the rest of us. A special thanks to the group who put this together.
We thank you. Now, I'm going to call my committee up here. We're going to take some pictures, but while we're doing that, I want you to key the music. Can we key the music? And can we serenade these ladies?
The moment I wake